Well, welcome back to the Valley Hoops Insider, part of the Valley Hoops Insider website. Harry Schroeder with you today. Very excited about this particular podcast. We have two guests on today that, tremendous Missouri Valley Conference basketball players, mostly at Southern Illinois University. Marcus Damask and Dalton Banks are going to be with us in just a minute. The two of them have begun a new venture together called Core3 Mentorship, and we wanted to have them on to talk all about that. But we also wanted to talk to them about their past at Southern Illinois and beyond and their professional endeavors. Marcus is in the upper corner there, Dalton in the middle and the bottom. Guys, first of all, just thanks for being a part of this. I think it's going to be fun today.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for having us.
Now, I was talking before we got started, you're both scattered all over the place, so I don't know how you're going to pull off this Core3 thing. We'll talk about the details of that in just a minute. Marcus, 4 years at Southern and then a year in the Big Ten at the University of Illinois. Dalton, 3 years at Southern and then 2 at Illinois State. Can you take us back in time and just say, man, what was college life? What was college basketball like for the two of you? Either one of you go first. I don't even care.
I can start it. I loved college basketball. I made so many memories, so many relationships with all sorts of people, the fans, the environments, the arenas, all the travel. College basketball was so much fun to me. And I look back and, I just have so many great memories, great people. And I'm thankful for everybody along the ride and everybody that poured into me to help me get to, where I was at for college. So, man, I love my college experience.
Dalton, same question.
Yeah, no, I think I can tag along with that a little bit. I think both of us, especially at Southern, I think, there's nothing like it, man. And, I think we are both very fortunate to be surrounded by some extremely, extremely great people. There's no, hiding from it. It's a hard experience. I came out on the other side of it, a completely different person, but, I think I'm better for it. And again, being able to be surrounded with some, very, very high character people for 5 years, it definitely made the experience obviously well worth it, but, definitely enjoyable as well.
You both had the opportunity to play 5 years. Marcus, 4 at Southern, and then the year at the University of Illinois, where you became an all Big Ten guy as well. I mean, people sometimes look down at a Missouri Valley Conference level and say, well, those guys aren't as good, but obviously you proved them wrong.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell people about the Valley for a while. Like, the Missouri Valley is no joke, and every game is a dogfight. And just my year, me, Lance, Ben Cricky at Iowa, they were all good. Now Rick Mass is playing well, Bennett Sturts, like all guys. It just happens to be the Big Ten, but like the Valley has a lot of really good players and a lot of really good coaches. So I think, guys that go through the Valley, it gets them ready to take the next jump in their game.
And then Dalton, you made the switch within the conference, 3 years at Southern, and then you abandoned the Salukis and went to the Redbirds. What was that like for you to stay in the league but leave Southern Illinois?
Yeah, it was a crazy transition. I think it was a little different for me, being from Wisconsin, I didn't really know a whole lot about the Valley before I got there. So I don't think I necessarily understood the rivalry part of it and how deep that runs. And I really had, when I entered the portal from Southern, I had no intention in staying in the Valley. I thought I would maybe go home to Green Bay or somewhere else. But when Coach P got on the phone with me, pretty much right away, I kind of knew there was no way that I could turn it down. In terms of who he is as a coach, who he surrounds himself with the staff, and then obviously once I took my official visit to Normal, it was kind of a no-brainer. It's a special place. It's a place that I'll hold dearly to my heart for the rest of my life. And yeah, it turned into one of those things where it was going to be really hard for me to say no. So definitely a transition that I didn't think that I would make, but one that I'm better for, and I'm glad that I did.
Dalton, you first. Tell us about Brian Mullins. Just what makes him tick. I'm such a big fan of your former coach.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Brian Mullins fan. I think he helped mold me into the player that I ended up becoming. He's I think the word to describe him is competitor, man.
Mm.
You're not going to play for a guy like that and not be on your A game, not give 100% energy all the time. And he really showed me that. I kind of hang my hat on being a guy that plays hard every game, brings the intangibles, is a leader, and that's not stuff that I necessarily had coming into college. That was stuff that Brian really taught me. He really took me under his wing and taught me how to play point guard, and it's tough. Like with perspective, man. Like you're kind of in the fire. Things might be a little frustrating at times, and you don't necessarily understand why you're going through things, but being in the spot that I am now, like I'm grateful for everything that he was able to teach me and do for me, and he really put me in a position to not only have a successful college career, but now be able to venture into the professional realm as well.
Same question, Marcus. Talk to me about Brian Mullins.
Yeah, I think Dalton hit it on the head with the competitor. He's definitely a competitor. We would get after it in practice and workouts. Like some of the hardest workouts in my life came at you. And, yeah, it was a grind for sure. Like it was every day we would go in there. It was a grind. I've never done so many defensive closeouts and so many like defensive rotation and diving on the floor as I did at SIU. So it was tough. I definitely grew as a man, as a player. Like I think, he's able to like pull something out of guys that, you don't even always know is there. And I thought that, I just grew man, player, like leader, like everything. I just felt like SIU really like changed who I am for the better. At least I think it's for the better, but it definitely changed who I am.
I did something wrong. Hey, I'm going to put you like that. How about that? I hit one wrong button, and the next thing I knew, you guys were really small. I'm really a high tech guy. Compare Marcus, if you could stay with it for a minute. Compare him to the style of Coach Underwood there at Illinois.
Yeah, definitely a different coaching style. Underwood he's going to say whatever comes to his mind. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense, but he's going to think of words to yell at you and put words together that, like, if you really think about it, it's like, Coach, I don't even think that made sense. But he's gonna get after you, get under your skin. Like he's gonna like make you play hard. And Coach Mullins was, more of a quieter, but like he still like pushed you, but it was just like a different way. He like challenged you quieter more, obviously, and Underwood was louder and more vocal for everybody in the gym to hear. So it was, two different styles, but I honestly felt like I appreciated and really liked both styles.
And then Dalton, same question, comparing and contrasting Coach Pete and Coach Mullins.
Yeah, I think they're very similar in terms of what they value. They value guys that work hard, that come to practice every day with their hard hat on and want to get after it. One of the things that I love about Coach P is he's so inspiring, man. Like, you go through tough things during the season, and he's one of those coaches that he can sit you down for a 30-minute speech and completely change your mindset on not only basketball but life. Again, I think Coach P, he's just one of those coaches that you just really want to play for, and you really want to to do well for him, just because he cares about his guys. He wants the best for his guys, and he wants to put them in the best position to win. So yeah, I think they're very similar at their core. But again, I think Coach P he's such a good people's person, and he really makes all of his players really want to play well for him.
We lost Dalton. We lost Marcus for a minute. Maybe he'll come back to us. I wanted to ask you as well, the CBI run. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Obviously, we played Belmont in the Valley tournament. It didn't go as how we wanted to. I felt like it was tough, man. You think that's kind of your last go. You lose in the conference tournament. There's not a guarantee of the NIT or whatever postseason bid. So, when it came on the table that was, going to be an opportunity, Coach P left it up to the seniors. He asked if this is something that we wanted to do, and we were all for it. We wanted a chance to compete again, and go out the right way. So we had a great week and a half of prep, and then obviously got down to Florida and ended up winning it all. And it was really special. It was really special for us. I think the most important part of that tournament for us is it brought us so much closer. Obviously the CBI isn't necessarily the tournament that you want to win. You have aspirations of making the NCAA tournament, winning an NIT, but it did a lot of good for our program in terms of, again, reinforcing culture, bringing guys together. And I think it was a big reason on why a lot of those guys decided to return for the following year. So it was a really special moment for me, as a senior and the rest of our seniors to win your last game of college basketball. Not many players get to say that they do that. But again, I think it was overall just good for our program, and I think it was a launch for what's to come. And again, it was a great experience for us.
Spectacular. Welcome back, Marcus, by the way. We lost you for a minute. Like I said, I'm super technically advanced. Appreciate you guys being with us. And I'm going to put up the website now. Both of you are playing professional basketball, and yet you've launched this venture called Core3 Mentorship.com. And that's why we wanted to have you on today. Obviously, like catching up and those kinds of things. But talk to me. Either one of you can start it off. What possessed you? What was the thinking? Like, we need to do something to help train young basketball players.
Yeah, I'll start off with this one. I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of cool stuff with basketball. Obviously play at a high level, Division I, now pro. But I think through all the cool things I've done, the accolades, the points, the places I've been, the greatest honor that I ever had was, being named a two-time captain my last 2 years at ISU. And I think what, that experience really taught me is just how much of a passion that I have for, leading. I think there's something about coming into work every day knowing that, it's not necessarily about you. You got other guys that depend on you, that need you to help them. So after those 2 years and, moving into, the next part of my life, I think I was chasing that a little bit. I was trying to figure out a way how I could, replicate that feeling. And then, when you transition to professional basketball, you have a lot of time. You're no longer in class for hours in a day. You're not doing all these random meetings that coaches have you running towards. So you've got a lot of time to really, think about what you want to do with your life, what you want to do after basketball. And when I got out here to Europe is, me and Marcus just started talking every day, and not necessarily about this, but just, conversations, how you doing with this, what's life like, and within those conversations, I just kind of brought it up, man. Like, I was like, hey man, this is something that I'm thinking about doing. Like, I would love to create some sort of way where I can be in a mentorship role. I can kind of recreate that feeling of being a leader and feeling like I'm setting somebody up for success. And within those conversations, Marcus was in the same boat, having that same feeling, having that same kind of thought process. And I think with that time that we had, it was like, this is the perfect time to start something, So, early conversations turned into, hour-long FaceTimes pretty much every day. And then again, those kind of just stacked up to the point where, we had our entire program put together. So again, ultimately, to answer your question, I think, I just have a passion for connecting. I have a passion for leading, and I want to feel, like I'm doing something that can benefit someone coming, behind me. And again, I think I have a lot of experience as well. Like, I've been in a lot of different situations. So I think it would almost be a shame to have all of that and not try to do something to help somebody out.
Marcus, what will it all look like? Meaning, you guys want to mentor people, but you're in a foreign country right now. Tell us some of the nuts and bolts of how this is going to play out.
Yeah, so kind of like the meat and potatoes, like the main thing that we do is we get on phone calls with kids back home. And obviously, little bit of a time difference, but we get on phone calls, and we want to be somebody like almost like a big brother figure, but somebody that has gone and done what they want to do. Hopefully not even like, hopefully, they want to be better than we were, but somebody that has gone through the learning curve. It's a huge learning curve every level you jump. So it's a huge learning curve. So we've been through there. So, if somebody's struggling with confidence, we're here to help them and bring their confidence back up. If they're struggling with, ball screen reads, like we're here. So we're kind of like a big brother figure, and, we jump on the phone with them, talk to them. They can text us whenever they want. Like, we have constant dialogue going back and forth to just kind of lift these kids up, and we've kind of taken an approach that, it's bigger than just basketball. At the end of the day, we want to be great people. We want to be successful in whatever we do. So, we're trying to build these kids up as athletes for sure, but as people as well. And, like building habits that are going to translate to success on and off the court, because, we're big believers in how you do anything is how you do everything. So, if we're taking care of stuff off the court, that's going to translate to on the court. So the main pieces, are consistent conversations that we're having and sharing our thoughts and lessons that we've learned. But then also through that, lots of time breaking down film and creating drills that we're sending and film breakdowns of them or film breakdowns of us, NBA guys. We do some like character development lessons and presentations that we have with kids. So that's just pieces of it, but it's a very holistic approach, and it's very personalized to everybody. So, we break down stuff specifically for them and have conversations with one kid that we probably won't have with another kid. So everything, we just try to keep everything very personalized, and at the end of the day, it's everything we can do to help them. We've laid out a program to help them, but at the end of the day, if they need something different, like we're just here for them, basically.
So Dalton, when I first saw the website, when I first saw somebody somehow it popped up in my Twitter feed or whatever, and I said, "Oh, cool, they're doing something, something fun, and important to help develop basketball players." And I immediately went to, I'm going to give them basketball drills to do, and we're going to get in the gym and teach them stuff. And obviously, that's not the focus. But there is a gigantic basketball component. Marcus talked about film study and all of that. Crazy to think like that. The basketball piece, is there a prime person that's going to be a part of this? Like, is it a sixth grader? Is it a third grader? Is it a high school player? Tell us about maybe the most, not the only, but the most, the player that's most going to benefit from this.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought it up, because that's something me and Marcus wanted to be intentional from the beginning with. Is we don't want to market ourselves as trainers. That's not what this program is. That's not what we're trying to do, or what we're trying to do. We don't think it would be fair to market ourselves as that. We're 3,000 miles away on the other side of the world. This is an online program. We're really trying to, again, be a big brother figure. We try and look at it as, what would we tell our old selves if we were, back in sixth grade, starting this basketball journey with, wide eyes and, all the ambition and dreams in the world. So I think, to answer your question, like, there's not like an ideal age range for us. What's important to us is that we work with, athletes who, are passionate about what they're trying to do, passionate about the goals that they have, athletes that dream big. Because, like Marcus touched on a little bit, like we can personalize a lot of this stuff, for kids. And again, we are still playing professional basketball. Like that's a grind in itself. So we do want to, to at least start with, have our athlete pool be a little smaller. We don't think it would be, beneficial to take on 30 people. Like, we want to be able to take on the amount of people that, we can give our 100% into. But again, to reiterate, I think the more important part of this is to have athletes that are going to invest in us as much as we're investing in them. Have guys that, when we send them stuff are going to respond, that come to the conversations with energy and things that they want to talk about. So, that's what's more important to us, not, an age range.
Core3 mentorship. Core3, what does that mean, Marcus?
Yeah, so the name, it took a while for us to figure out. It was when we originally started, that was the first thing we tried to get was the name, and it ended up being the last thing because we did want it to mean something. And so basically, the Core3 stands for, like, we have 3 core pillars of what we're trying to do. And it is, like, first and foremost, we want to become better basketball players. That's the basis of what we're trying to do. But on top of that, we want to become a better person. We want to grow these kids on and off the court, like we talked about. And then the last one is build a relationship. We both agree that some of the coolest things that we've done through this basketball experience is the relationships we built. So we want to be able to build relationships with these kids as they develop and grow, and just kind of be there for them. So that's the Core3. That's kind of what it stands for. And then on top of it, as we kind of created it, we realized, like, oh, we did both wear number 3. So, that's just like another meaning to it. So it kind of added to it. But yeah, we wanted the name to have a true meaning. And I think it sounds pretty good. I don't know about you, Harry. I don't know what your thoughts are. I think it rolls off the tongue kind of good.
Absolutely. When I ran into it, I said, wow, I always respected the way both you guys played, and heard your coaches talk about the way you played and the way you went about things. And so this just seems super logical to me. The 2 Wisconsin guys would get together and do something that would be, I don't know, character driven, improvement driven, rather than, like we said, Dalton, being trainers. And I think trainers are amazing too. Like, one of my good friends is, Drew Hanlon, who's, training NBA guys as well as college players and all that. And I think he cares about people's character too. But this is so focused. I'm super excited about what you guys are doing. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, I got to reach out to these guys. I have to have them on and tell people about it. Yeah, I think you're relatively just out of the gates with this. Am I right, Dalton? And what's the marketing strategy like besides getting on a high-powered podcast like this?
Yeah, yeah, we've been working with a couple kids before we launched, just because we wanted to see how does the system work, what needs to be refined, what works, what doesn't work. So we've had a couple clients that we've been working with for a little bit, and I would say, like, I think Marcus would agree with me, like, it's been going really well. We've had situations where we've hopped on the call and hopped off and then immediately called, one of each other, and we're just like, how awesome is this? And I think, again, that's the feeling that we're chasing, to be able to help kids and enjoy doing that. We actually just added another athlete about an hour before this call. So we've got some positive momentum going with it. But, again, we're not worried about, making a ton of money or signing 50 people. Like, we're intentional about finding, the right kids, the right fit for us. And I think a lot of that's going to be, through word of mouth as well. And I think we got to earn that too. I think we've got to prove that, this is something that, it can benefit kids. That's worth the investment in time and money. So I think there's a little bit of, continued work that, we have to do. But again, it's something that, I know Marcus believes in. I believe into my core, because getting to the highest level of basketball, like, you can't do it alone. You need people in your life that, have already dabbled down that road, that know what they're kind of talking about. I think this is, we were both fortunate enough to have great mentors in our life that, changed the direction of our lives for the better. So, we see the value in it, and we put in the time and effort to try and create a program that really helps kids out and chase their dreams.
Super excited for both of you. If there's anything we can do to help spread the word, feel free to let us know. Like, you have my contact information. Just shoot me a message. Say, hey, tell people about this. I'm happy to pass it along. Appreciate your time today. It's probably the middle of the night or something wherever you're at. I don't know the time zone things that you're probably in a whole nother world, and maybe I got you out of bed to talk. I don't even know. But I appreciate the time today. Dalton Banks, Marcus Damask, Core3 Mentorship.com. We'll put all the information along with all of this in the notes to the story and all that. Appreciate your time today, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Harry. Appreciate you.
That's Dalton Banks and Marcus Damask. It's Core3 Mentorship. Check it out if you have a young aspiring basketball player that needs some help and some encouragement. Folks, remember, you've watched this video. If you like it, feel free to like it, subscribe, all those kinds of things I'm supposed to say because I'm highly technically driven. And appreciate your time today. And folks, remember, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.